Hello viewers, welcome to my first Kerbal Space Program stream, and actually the first stream I'm doing voice on, so you'll forgive me if I make a few mistakes, I hope, and I hope you enjoy what we're going to do today, which is fulfill a contract to build a space station around Minmus. We need a research lab. 5 Kerbal capacity, an antenna, docking port, and can generate power. So this is a rocket that doesn't actually work too well. We're going to go ahead and get rid of it. Tried it earlier. Kind of sucks. So I've got another rocket. Well, I call Lander 2. We're going to merge into this rocket. We're going to take... I thought we were going to take the part off of it that we wanted. Oh, there we go. Okay, let's just go ahead and delete that. We'll try again. Oops, okay, well, let's do it this way then. Alright, so all this piece down to here. Down to here. We don't need any of this. It can all go away. And then we're going to need another thing though. So, this is a little pre-built station that I've created. It, with lack of some parts, because I don't have enough science, we're playing in career mode here, I don't have enough science to unlock all the good docking port pieces, so I've kind of built my own little neat station here. It's got 4 ports to dock with. I've got one of these in orbit around Kerman already. But we're going to modify this one. We don't need quite as big of fairings. We're going to rebuild that. Let's go ahead and delete it for now. This was my first attempt at building a space station component, and it was not that great. It did function quite well, but you know, it's how you live and learn. One piece at a time, one trial at a time. Because of the way I had this done in 3s rather than 4s, on trying not to cover up all the windows and whatnot, I ended up manually putting a bunch of panels on there. Okay, why isn't that making a fairing? I don't know. No big deal. Okay, so you'll see we're using asparagus filling here. These 2 boosters feed into these 2 boosters, which feed into the center booster. I'm using a mainsail and I guess I'm using 5 mainsail engines. This rocket actually works really well. It is a little expensive if you'll notice the price tag, but I seem to be making more money than I'm spending, so I don't mind the cost in general. I guess you can't see what the current funds are while you're in the vehicle assembly building. Alright, so we need to add a few pieces to this. First, we're going to need an antenna or 2. We'll just go ahead and put 1 on, that way this thing can communicate while we're away from it. We'll have a better comms and power package available later. Actually, I don't even think we need that. If we put a Kerbal in here, Bill Kerman, engineer. Let's put a pilot instead. Keurig, he can go. We'll be able to fly this thing. And we will need some electrical generation power. I like these 1x6 panels. I'm gonna put them for symmetry around the cupola here. Rechargeable batteries, also for symmetry. I like to hide them under here because it works well. This will give the station core some basic power generation capability. We'll be generating far more power than what's available here. Once we get, actually, I don't really need these expensive ones either. We can put some. No, that's not it. Where's the little ones? There they are. Stick out. Alright. Okay, so we can put these little panels, I guess, on here, like so. There's 4 of them. They should provide enough power for this module to work out at Minmus until we can get the more expensive power station built with more power and communications. As far as science, we're going to have a separate science station for that. We have a pilot, no need for a major communications system on here. I feel like we're still missing something though. Yes, I'm using MechJeb 2 mod, and I would like to place a MechJeb 2 receiver on here, and a second one. Nope, that's the one we need on this model. It'll give us the ability to use excellent MechJeb commands. Ah, I know what we need. We need some lights. We want to illuminate our station. You can see how very pretty it is. There we go. And let's put some bottom edge as well. There we go. Alright, we should have a nicely illuminated center core for the station now. Let's go ahead and change the name of this so we don't save over Lander 2. We'll call it Minmus Station. We're going to overwrite that junk rocket we created earlier. And hopefully we didn't overwrite Lander 2. Let's just double check. Oh good, we didn't. Alright, Minmus Station. Load. Let's go ahead and build the fairing on this guy. Right click here. Build fairing. Out just a little bit. That might be a little much. Better. There we go. Nice little fairing on that guy. Save. Let's get it in the sky, huh? Going to Minmus. Tried this earlier. I like MechJeb. It makes it real easy. Launch a rocket. We're going to stop at stage 1. You don't want it to blow the fairing force automatically. Actually, I don't care if we do that. We can go ahead and do that. We would do not, however, want it to blow that on its own. So we'll stop at 0, which means it won't execute the 0th stage. Use the autopilot and watch this thing fly. I usually use this booster for a much heavier load. I have a 2-part lander that's Apollo style, and this rocket usually carries it to space. I can leave one piece in orbit, like an orbiter, and bring the lander down to the ground. I like how well MechJeb flies a gravity turret. It's very good. It'll automatically stage the pieces for us. Here, you can watch these things fall off and explode. They always hit each other, it seems like. Looks like they're gonna miss each other this time around. A much lighter load this time, so we're actually using a lot less fuel. Our thrust to weight ratio is almost 3. It's actually climbing. It's over 3 for on the surface, but in space it's well over 3 by now. We're going to have a lot of excess fuel we're not actually going to even need most of. That's okay though, we'll use what we can and we'll ditch the rest. Like I said, this rocket's a little on the expensive side for what we're trying to do, but I generally make more money than I spend in the career mode, so I don't mind. If you'll notice, MechJeb is coasting to the edge of the atmosphere. Once it hits that, it'll circularize the orbit for us. And once the circularization is complete, we will start calculating our burn to Minmus. Haven't quite figured out how they can just begun streaming. Good ways to keep awkward silences from happening on the stream, and as I don't have any viewers at the moment because I'm actually recording this rather than streaming it live, I'm not really sure what to say 100% of the time, but you know, we'll learn as we go, and we'll create a nice following, I hope. We won't be doing just Kerbal Space Program, we'll also be doing other games. And I don't have, as yet, a regular schedule set for this. I'll just be doing them as often as I can. If I get an interest, maybe I'll look into creating a schedule and start taking suggestions on games or things to do in various games. So let me tell you about the mods I am currently using for this. I use CKAN in order to handle my mods, and it is a fantastic app. It'll download and install them for you. Okay, we've been circularized. You'll notice what 80,000 kilometers and 79,000 at periapsis for those. So I'm using, well, I'll go through the mods momentarily. Let's go ahead and get rolling to Minmus. Alright, we've got the moon, we've got Minmus. I think we're going to have a problem with this positioning, and that the moon is going to be give us an encounter first. We can get rid of the ascent guidance from MechJeb, and we're going to go ahead and do a home and transfer to our target, which is currently Minmus. Creating the node, yeah, so this is going to be an issue. If you see right here, we're going to encounter the moon well before we encounter Minmus, and that's actually going to throw off our path where we will not encounter Minmus at all. So there's a couple ways we could probably solve this. I'm assuming one way would be to, yep, so I could try and meet it a little early, or could meet up with the moon and try to get a gravity assist off of it perhaps. I'll tell you the easiest way I'm going to handle it is to simply warp time ahead a little bit. And just let the moon get out of the way. Now we're a little low, so it's not going to let us go fast as we want to. That's alright. Okay. Well, let's just go ahead and see what we got. Home and transfer now to our target, Minmus. There we go. Fine tune that I want to be at, let's say 150 kilometers. Excellent. Now we can focus on Minmus. We can actually look and see where our periapsis is going to be in orbit around the moon here, Minmus. 149,344 meters, or 149 kilometers. That's fantastic. That's exactly where we want it to be. Let's go ahead and let this thing execute all nodes and watch this. We can go ahead and watch. Ooh, a little dark. We can find our lights and we'll turn them on. Go ahead and eject our fairing manually. We got, that's the cupola. There's a light. Let's turn that on. There we go. We'll turn these lights on as well. There we go. Now we can see some of the ship at least. Some of the station. I think technically right now it's called a ship because it's not in a stationary location. So we're using just the reaction wheels built into the station in order to turn this thing, or to the cupola to turn this thing, I believe, at the moment. A little slow, but it'll be okay. It'll get us there. As soon as this thing lines it up, MechJeb will get us moving. It'll warp us to the node that we created on the map. Where are we here? It'll warp us to this node right here. You can see around Earth there, around Kerbal. It'll then execute the burn at that point, and then it will warp us again until we get to this maneuver node, where it'll execute the burn again, and it'll put us right here in this periapsis. Parabolic course around Minmus. And once that happens, we will circularize our burn. So here we go. We're getting ready to encounter the maneuver node. Start our burn. We got plenty of fuel, actually. So we're going to have an entire tank here of fuel to do this way we do the asparagus staging. These two will knock off here momentarily and hang in orbit here around Kerbal. We'll blow them up later in the tracking station. Alright, so we're about 15, it's about 6, there we go. And a burn. And we've lost those, so let's go ahead and decouple that. Well, that didn't work out the way we wanted it to, did it? Couple that. Well, we may have a problem, folks. Let's see what that did to our poor little orbit here. Delete that. Go ahead and delete that node. And this is one thing I like about this. Go back to target selection, celestial bodies. Kerbal doesn't count as a target. Fantastic. Well, at least we can always target our own ship. We can find it. Well, isn't that nice? Yeah, definitely one thing Kerbal Space Program needs is a better way to focus on things. Here we go. Okay, so well, we didn't screw our orbit up terribly, so that's good. Excellent. That'll give us a second opportunity. The home and transfer window is not going to work the way it is, though, so we're going to need to circularize at the next apoapsis. Go ahead and create and execute that. Oh, why are we still spinning so much? Let's go ahead and stabilize ourselves. The reaction wheel's a little bit slow to do its work. Sure, but oh, do we have a no, we don't have an electric charge problem. We were just spinning real fast. Look, we're slowing down slowly, but perhaps we should have brought better maneuverability. We'll turn the RCS on and start slowing down a little faster with its help. There we go. Okay, so that is a fiasco we'll have to keep in mind for next time. We'll have to put some better control on this booster rocket because the station cupola does not have all that great of control. I'm just going to go ahead and bring the rotation back here. We don't want to use a whole lot of our monopropellant if possible, because otherwise we won't be able to move this thing around very much if we want to. We use as little as possible. Alright, so let's go ahead and let this thing execute its maneuver. And it'll handle lining everything up for us. Now remember what we're doing now is circularizing our orbit into what is this goldish tan dotted line, because we screwed up our initial burn. We've got plenty of fuel, so we can try the burn again. We screwed it up by trying to manually decouple rather than using the staging capabilities of the game. Now we decoupled one engine and not both of them simultaneously. Bad idea. Threw off our balance and got us into a spin, but luckily it didn't screw our orbit up enough to damage our plans. Alright, so now that that's happened, let's go ahead and set Minmus as a target again. What are you doing? Excellent. Well, not what I had planned. MechJeb, being a mod, sometimes wants to do its own thing. I haven't quite figured out why it does certain things yet. Let's see if we can just go ahead and home and transfer without a circular orbit. Okay, so it looks like it's going to go right through the moon's orbit, but it's not. And at our closest approach, it's going to keep us pretty far away. Doesn't look like we're going to have an encounter. And probably because we have not a circular orbit. So, let's circularize. At the next apoapsis, create and execute. We've got plenty of fuel left still. We'll just go ahead and watch this guy. Hopefully circularize properly this time. And I think we're gonna just go ahead and do this one portion of the station for this first video, and we'll come back and revisit the second portion of the station in the next video. I hope you don't think that I'm cheating. I have done all this manually in the past. I just prefer using MechJeb because it makes things far more precise. Usually. Sometimes it does cause issues like the ones we've seen tonight, but normally things become far more precise. And I do still do things manually occasionally. I just want to put this station in orbit as quickly as possible. And I'm much quicker with MechJeb. Now, while we're waiting for this to do the home and transfer after the circularization burn is complete, we'll start talking about the add-ons I told you about earlier. This is one of the reasons MechJeb is so nice, because it slows your throttle down to almost nothing and burns very slowly to finish out its maneuvers. It also times your burns just right so that you don't have to average them yourself. It'll average them for you and start burning halfway, not halfway too, but like half the amount of time before your node. Alright, let's try a home and transfer to the target now. Haha! We have a much better time this time, and we're going to fine-tune our Intercept 250. There we go, and we have an encounter right there. Execute all nodes, and we'll watch our magic happen. Luckily, we're not going to have to wait too long because we're already on the right side of the moon, or the right side of Kerman, rather, to begin our burn real shortly here, and facing generally the right direction. So if you'll notice, it starts burning at 7 seconds for a 14-second burn. 7 seconds prior to arriving at the node, it'll burn 14 seconds, but if it starts 7 seconds prior, it'll burn those first 7, and it'll burn the remaining 7 on the after it reaches the node. And that way it will average out the total burn around the node, creating a far more accurate burn time. Because these planning nodes that we build, like this guy here, he assumes that we're going to get 100% of the additional thrust at that exact moment. Like a sudden impulse of additional thrust at that exact moment that'll add the entire speed we need instantaneously. The rockets can't do that. They have to burn a certain amount of time in order to add that additional speed to the rocket itself. Because of that, averaging the burn time actually makes it more accurate. Alright, so we're about to make our second burn, which is going to create a nice, gentle, downward orientation for our orbit. We're changing the plane of our orbit, basically, in order to meet Minmus. Because if you'll look from a side profile here, our old orbit was down, or was above Minmus's position on this galactic plane. Now we've burned to put our orbit to intersect just about in the right place, and this is a weird representation, I know. Lines are kind of drawn strangely, but if you follow Minmus around this curved path, this orange line is where we are going to end up in relation to Minmus in the future. So when we warp ahead, you'll notice the line starts to line up quite nicely with our spacecraft here. And as we get closer, we end up just in line with it and traveling this way along it. It's really kind of neat. Okay, so we are currently scheduled to come within 90 kilometers of Minmus, and it looks like at a pretty flat plane, so we're just going to go ahead and circularize at the next periapsis right here, because we're on a parabolic curve. We only have a periapsis as the closest we're coming. We're going to create the node, and that should become our new orbit for this station around Minmus. Launcher advanced. I'll have to figure out what that is. One of my old ships, I'm sure. So let's go ahead and execute the next node. And once again, like I said, this is a... I forgot. So sometimes if you're still in warp mode and you execute the next node, it won't, because the physics engine is locked to the physics engine is locked when you're in warp mode. It can't rotate the ship, so it'll wait until it gets to a certain point and then pause and do it. But I like to have the rotation done and the orientation already set for the burn before the warp happens. It just makes things work smoother and more accurately, in my opinion. And I could be full of crap about that, but hey, seems to be my experience that if I do that beforehand, I have no issues later on. It looks like we have somebody to rescue here in orbit. We'll have to bring another ship to do that later. And yes, it will have this same booster, by the way. So we're going to have a little bit of a inclined orbit here. After we're done with the circularization burn, we're going to go ahead and burn to fix the inclination. I'm going to change that to 0 degrees because I want to have an equatorial orbit for this space station. I don't feel like it needs anything different around Minmus than an equatorial orbit. So let's see. We have met 3 of the 5 criteria. We need a power generation station and a research lab. I will be building those in 2 separate modules. And the next video we'll try to send both of them up simultaneously within a day, within a few hours of each other, so that we can get them both here. I'll have 2 ships flying at once, and we'll end up having to switch between them back and forth in order to get our final result. Alright, we're getting ready to burn to fix our inclination here. There it goes. Real simple, real quick, real easy burn. There we go. Doesn't line up perfectly, but hey, that's alright. 97,000 and 84,000. We're going to circularize at the next apoapsis because it's far more accurate to what I would like it to be. Now, you know what? Remove all nodes. Let's go ahead and create a manual node here. We're going to burn prograde and raise our apoapsis out to about 200,000. There's no need to be that close around Minmus. So, I'm going to go ahead and do that. We can still use MechJeb to execute that new node, and it'll do it for us. It's pretty sweet in that regard. Once we've done that, we can then circularize, execute all nodes, and it will first raise the apoapsis out, and then it'll circularize it at that point for us. Pretty cool, huh? That will keep us... The first maneuver is this orange dotted line here, which will put our apoapsis out to here, and then at that point it will start a new burn in order to circularize our orbit. So occasionally when you're in warp mode, your maneuver node target will drift. It's just due to the game engine, I think. I haven't really figured out why. I'm sure somebody else knows that's been playing this far longer than I have, but MechJeb's pretty good at fixing it, and I always try to fix it myself when I manually fly these things. Alright, here goes our burn to raise the apoapsis. Approximately 200. There it goes, if you'll see up here. Approximately 200 meters. No idea why it's a little changing. That's alright. So we're going to go ahead and let it circularize our orbit now. Looks like an 11-second burn. We'll do that momentarily. We've got obviously a lot of communication satellites here. When we're close enough to them, we can use them as relays to talk back to Kerbal, which is really kind of neat. These Kerbals that are out here, especially Keurig, he really needs to talk back to Kerbal. He's going to be very lonely out here until we can send him some more astronauts. I'm sorry, Kerbal-nauts. It's more Kerbal-nauts to play with. Here we go, circularizing our burn. And I have placed this station in an orbit that I think I like. So, fantastic. Oh, our plane is, yep, right about 0 degrees. So, Excellent. We have our first portion of the station in orbit. And with that said, we can go ahead and decouple our Rockomax brand decoupler. Let the engine float free, and we will just have our basic station here and ready to go. It's basic little solar panels, and it's one little MechJeb module. Excellent. All right. So now we can go back to Carmen and scuttle this ship here. But, okay, good. It's called debris. Fantastic. So, back to the Space Center. You can go that way, or you can just hit escape and click tracking station directly, which is my preferred method because I like to move quick. So, let's turn off all these other markers here. And let's go ahead and get rid of all of these pieces, two of which were in orbit around Kerman, one of which is in orbit around Minmus. Okay, let's see what else we got. Dumbsat 1, that was the first satellite ever launched. It had really absolutely nothing to do at all. It had one antenna and just flew around in a circle. Actually pretty useless. It does have a nice big orbit though, bigger than the moon. I've left it for posterity's sake. And then obviously you see how I name my probes there. Toggle ships, Julian's derelict. This station. Oh, hey, that's the one we just dropped into orbit when you changed icon and type. So let's go back to flying it. No longer a ship, so if we click on the cupola, we hit rename vessel, and we can choose station, hit accept, and now its icon will be that of a station. And also you can rename it there. Turn the lights on or off. We'll go ahead and leave them on for Keurig. Alright, and you see this inventory button here. That is one of the add-ons that I'm using actually. It's pretty cool. So the add-ons I'm using I will post in the description down below the video here. But they are Asteroid Day, which is an official squad sponsored add-on. It's a mod. I'm also using the Community Category Kit, Community Resource Pack, Easy Vessel Switch, which you saw in action earlier when I changed between this station and the booster we used to bring it here. It doesn't just let the camera jump back and forth, it actually smoothly pans it, makes it easier on the eyes. Using environmental visual enhancements, I don't know if you noticed the quality of the quality of Kerman. I'm also using Hullcam VDS Continued, and I didn't show you the Hullcams. We'll see if we can look at some of those in the next video, but they're pretty cool. Lets you see the from the perspective of like cameras that are mounted on the side here and whatnot. They're pretty cool. Kerbal attachment system and the Kerbal inventory system are currently in play. I haven't used either of those within the game yet, but I have them installed so I can give them a shot. I also use Kerbal Engineer Redux, which is this panel here that you're seeing. It's quite nice. It's got a lot of information, a lot of capability. It works very nice as a complement to MechJeb 2, which I'm also using. Also, I've installed Kerbal Planetary Base Systems, which is a mod that lets you build bases on planets out of flat modules instead of these round ones here, so you don't have to try and come up with some strange looking bases. You can actually lay them on the ground. I have a module manager, which allows you to install multiple mods without conflicts. I also have PlanetShine with its default configuration, which will do cool things like when you're on the sunny side of a planet, you'll see its reflection, the reflected light from the sunny side of the planet on the planet side of the ship's skin. Instead of just being illuminated here and being completely dark on this side, you'll see some illumination here that's tinted with the color of the planet. It's pretty neat. have Scatterer installed, which will give you a nice light scattering. Looks much better. Stock visual enhancements and TextureReplacer. Those are all they're all recommended modules. So PlanetShine, Scatterer, the stock visual enhancements with Scatterer configs in Sunflare, and the TextureReplacer. These are all recommended by the the environmental visual enhancements, which makes it look really nice. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope I didn't sound too much like a newbie on YouTube, but sure I did. I'll get better. I hope you guys have a nice night, ladies and gentlemen. And we will see you for part 2 as soon as I get some time to do part 2.